All right, we're back.
Back.
That was
Yeah.
a great break. We
Wow.
took a lap around, setting the space outlet here.
Great. Yep.
Got some energy out.
Yeah.
But we were talking about the health.
Yeah.
And I want to bring up something kind of interesting
Yeah.
that has happened since I've met you. Or since we've been doing this.
Yeah.
Not since I met you, but obviously on the Plymouth Rock platform when we add something new, and we're talking about how we are short-staffed, and we're always trying. Everybody is doing everything, and so we create these clips and we put them to let people know where to find the show and watch. And you do some, the clips are fantastic, and I love doing it because it's constantly reinforcing the message in me. But then I'll put them on social media and I'll start to look around, and it is like the environment just brings me down. Like the people,
Yeah.
negativity, and like whatever it is, it's just like it's not for me.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even matter. And I just wish I didn't have to do that.
I
And
know. You felt it though.
I
and
felt
so
it.
therefore you're aware of your frequency, and that's the important piece. Yeah. I don't want to cut you off, but that awareness is the whole key.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's like the things that you fall habit into of waking up in the morning and checking that first, you're already off the bat on the wrong foot. Boy, I just mixed up two little
I
cliches.
do that all the time.
You're
Yeah.
off the bat. You're right off the bat, off the wrong foot. That doesn't make any sense. So,
Yeah.
but you know what I
Yeah.
mean. You're getting off your day on the wrong track.
Bat and foot.
Bat and foot, and yeah.
Yeah.
So that to me, I feel like when I get into my routine, where I am able to have my moment of self-reflection or calmness or whatever, even if there's nothing accomplished, it's just more of like sitting and thinking. Like I feel healthier. I feel more creative and
Since
vibrant.
we've met, you mean?
Well, just in general,
okay.
right. But I'm saying that since I've had to do more of the social media side of it, I've just noticed the contrast.
The awareness of how
Yeah.
that takes you out.
Yeah.
Yes,
You know?
it really does.
Yeah.
You and I had a conversation the other day, like, why don't people like everything? And I remembered the reason, because I don't like social media.
Yeah.
And I also know that there are people who take social media personally, like, oh, if you like mine and you don't like somebody else's, or vice versa. So it's easier to avoid it.
Yeah.
It's easier to not engage. And social media is, that's why I feel bad for our kids. I mean, we can get off topic. That's a whole nother show. But we're so tethered to our phones. And think about it. If the future of medicine is our frequency, and our frequency determines what we're a magnet for, and our state of mind, and our level of health and wellness, the phone, we have more time with our phone than we have with anything else in the world.
Yeah.
And it usually takes us out.
One of the things that I always try to reflect back to is just how, and again, whether you like it or not, God's always going to be a part of my thinking now. Like I feel like since I've had
Mine
this
too.
spiritual awakening, I feel that foundation helps me get to the answer of everything. You know, for instance, our natural state is supposed to be love and peace, and
Yes.
whatever. And,
So
and
that's
from there, we're
an
able to
excellent point.
navigate troubled times and valleys of darkness and all of the other metaphors that might be used in the Bible, that kind of thing. But going back, like our chemical system, our bodies were created. These are like scuba suits for our souls to come and have a human experience. And we had to be built with some type of protective mechanism to if we're out and about and a mountain lion comes to us and we turn and we're like, okay, if I'm a mother, I got to protect my babies, right? If I'm another mountain lion, I'm going to war. If I'm a human being, I got to get the hell out of there. And so what happens? The adrenaline, fight and flight, all of that comes into our system. That's what originally happened. That happens now when you see a post if somebody says you look fat. Or I don't like you, or you're this or that, or something, I disagree with you. And that same chemical reaction in our body that sets us off does so for things that just don't seem important.
You're so right. And this is why the process of self-reflection and getting grounded in where you are in the morning. So you got to wake up grateful. In fact, Dr. Joe Dispenza has an exercise that he recommends. When you get really comfortable with being in that state of mind of gratitude, and you don't have to, gratitude does not mean that you have it all. It means that you're grateful for what you have, right? So you start your day and you start with the highest, thing you can, which is gratitude and love for what you have in your life, what's going right. And then you sort of feel how that feels in your body. It feels really good. And then you get protective over that. And then if you know the cell phone's going to take you out, and for you it's a job thing, you have to do it, then you have to say, I am not connected or attached or tethered to other people's opinions of me. I don't need outside validation. I need to know my worth, and I need to know I have a purpose and I have a message. And it will hit the people that it's meant to find. And the people that don't cheer for me or support me aren't for me. Let them fall away. So and then you notice when you do that, you've already blocked any negative thoughts from coming in. We are so misguided that we think we can control outside situations. We can only control our thoughts. So if you control the way you respond, not react, to the world, you're constantly maintaining that level of frequency. And frequency is a weird topic for somebody who hasn't heard it. It sounds like we're not a frequency, but we really are. But it's really, we know what love feels like. And so to your point, when you said, our faith, helps us understand that we're supposed to be loving and kind to other people. We know how to do that. We know what that feels like. But I think where we are really making mistakes is that we forget to love ourselves. Right? So we know very well, hold the door open, like you said, for somebody else. But what are you doing for yourself? If you watch social media and you let it take you out, and then you entertain the thoughts about, why doesn't that person support me? And, I always did everything for them, and they never did anything for me. And then you go down this, negative thought pattern. It lowers your frequency, and it makes you a magnet for more. So now what? So now you're already irritable, and now you have worthiness triggers that are open, wounds that are open, of rejection and what have you. Now you go out in the world, and whatever lens you're seeing the world through is what you're going to find. Again, you can only control your thoughts. Now, witnessing it, reflecting on it is the whole key. No one's going to be perfect tomorrow. But if you have the ability to check in and be like, wait a second, I just noticed I reacted to that person. I'm not tethered to their validation of me. It comes from inside, and the right people are going to see me, and the right people are going to support me. Then you've maintained your frequency. And so all day long, it's a frequency. So let's just say we start with 10 in the morning. 10's like full basket. And all day long, you give a little away here, you give a little too much, attention here, and someone drains you here. What are you doing to get it back? And you want to make sure you get in your bed at night and you're still at 10. And what's it going to take to get you there? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And I think that we're so fragile. And we become more so fragile because our need, and I keep going back to this primal nature of human beings, of what we had to do to survive, right?
Yeah.
It was very physical. It was like we are utilitarian creatures. And now the survival doesn't take place sort of with we don't have to walk 10 miles to get water or to get shelter. I mean, our basic needs are met, right?
Right.
But we have to find something to fight against, which is thoughts and an imagination that can run amok. And so, being the healing system that we are, and it's just a perspective. I think people just really need to question everything about medicine, right?
Yeah.
We've talked about that, and we can go down that road another time. But for the most part, our bodies are healing machines. As a kid, you get a cut in your hand. You would cry when you looked at it, right? But you might not even notice it, but you would cry because emotionally it scared you, right, if you had a cut. But what happened? That cut would heal, and your body would just heal itself, right? And I heard that for a lot of the folks who subscribe to this notion of us being healing machines is that there really is nothing that medicine externally could do for us except for to prevent us from going into shock, right? So the reason for us to take a narcotic or a drug or something like that would be it's almost in a supernatural way, bring us back to where we're not going to die of if you get in a car accident, that kind of thing. But
it's maintenance, but it's not your healing.
Right. And so and then everything around us is put there for us. If you having a divine perfection overlook, there's no mistakes. So if you have a condition, more likely than not, the solution, the remedy, the cure, the antidote is going to be around you, right?
In you.
Even an allergy, right? Local bees provide the honey for that sensitivity to whatever the flower.
So in nature, you're saying nature. Yes, and I agree with that 100%. That's it. Absolutely.
Which then brings me to the notion of if bananas were an original fruit from South America and rice was brought to this country from Asian continents, even mixing foods up that
Is that
don't,
okay? Right.
Does that cause any sort of thing? Because we weren't built to be
For that
flying around
environment.
and the food to come and
Yeah.
for us to eat. This is a bad example, like polar bear meat, and then have ahi from the equator, from the fish.
Right.
You know, like
Right,
those
because
things.
genetically we're different
Right.
people. That's a good point. No, there's that I can't really speak to in that entirety because it's such a vast topic.
right.
But but it's so true. I always tell my clients, we are like starfish. Our body has the wisdom to heal itself if put in the right environment, with the right nourishment, and around the right people. And so self-reflection, why aren't you healing? Or what's wrong with your body? Again, going back to the 80 to 90% of our disease is stress. The little whispers that we get in the beginning are a call for reflection. The insomnia, the tummy ache, the headache, the whatever. That's asking you to look inward, right? But we all ignore it and we pass it off as like normal human existence. But then when we don't listen, it goes up the next level, and then you get the tap on the shoulder, and then you're starting to get diagnosed with things. You know, hopefully treatable, nothing chronic, but that's what happens. Our body is talking to us. Our body wants us to do that self-reflection, to do the inner work. And when we don't listen, we get that final level where we are beat over the head with the things that are not curable and that eventually take our lives. We have control over our thoughts. It's almost like, again, a metaphor. If you wanted a car to run better, right, to operate more efficiently, and I said, perfect, just wash and polish it, would that work? Absolutely not. You got to lift the hood.
Right,
You got to
yeah.
look inside. Does that make sense?
It does, and I would even take it a step further. Part of the holistic side of things is that if you think that washing your car and polishing it is going to make the car be more efficient, you're actually you're creating a belief system that by me caring for it, that's why people who go to the gym and they're working out eat better.
It's the exterior.
Because they say, you know what, I'm doing this, and you feel like eating better, and so you're changing all sorts of behaviors. You know, because if I'm going to muscle down some disgusting vegetable drink or something like that,
Yeah.
and then you just don't, you're thinking about the next thing you're going to put into your body. Your whole mindset is around being healthier.
It's
so,
true.
So you're
Yes.
right about checking the hood, but like somebody who cares for their car, more likely than not is going to be like, you know what, I'm also going to put some oil into this,
Yeah.
or I'm going to check the oil of the
What
windshield.
happened
Yeah.
is it raised the frequency, and they reached for another high frequency thought. But there are just as many people that go to the gym and they don't grab that vibe, right?
Yeah.
So they go to the gym, but then they go home and beat their wife because they're not okay on the inside. The root of our behaviors, the root of our reality begins with changing our thoughts.
Let me give a story here
Yeah.
that I read that deeply touched me, and it was just the power of positive thinking and
Yeah.
belief system.
Yeah.
And it was I think it was Thomas Edison, right? His mother had died, and he was going through all of her items in her desk in her office as cleaning the stuff up. And he remembered he was pulled out of school at a very young age, maybe 6 or 7 years old, and the mother told him, like, you're too smart for the school. We can't have you at the school. They're just not equipped to handle your intelligence.
Yeah.
And so, he goes on and does incredible things. So he sees this letter box of the school saying that
Heard this and I
your
love this. Yeah.
retarded son does not belong in this school, if not for the love of the mother.
I love this example. Yes.
He would never have had that belief,
That's right.
And done everything that he's done. And look, we have light bulbs and like everything else.
Thank you. I
mean,
know. And it's the power of thoughts.
Yeah.
Whatever you believe, you're right. The lens that you choose to see through will help you find that in the world.
Yeah.
He heard that he was so smart that anything was possible. And that is the lens that he chose to see through because his beautiful mother gave him that thought. And that's
just as easily it could have gone the other direction.
It could have gone the other way. I had a text just before I got here this morning and said, crush it. And I started composing, I will try, because I had in my head what could go wrong. Not that I think something's going to go wrong, but you could fumble and you could maybe miss the mark and not. I had that inner dialogue for a millisecond. And I deleted it and I wrote, I will. Because what you believe is going to happen.
Yeah.
Right? You're manifesting in real time what the power of your mind can do. So I hope we're crushing it, because I mean, that's what I believe we're going to do.
Yeah.
Why? Because we have something important to say, and also we're regular people that are showing that this works in regular life. You talked about you didn't always have a strong faith. You didn't always notice your thoughts. You didn't always, reach for that feeling of love for yourself or for other people. And you made some mistakes. But the way you're applying it now, aren't you seeing in real time how your life is transforming, how your relationships are transforming, right?
Yeah, tapping into that, like when you just are at the end of your rope, right?
Yeah.
And there's nothing left in you.
Right.
And it's just the empty vessel of who you are, and you're just wondering, what was fueling me before this, right? And then you have no choice but to look externally for the source of that energy. And I believe for me it was spirituality to say, like, okay, there's a higher power helping me, guiding me, and it's so much more, like you said it, you don't have to believe in God, but it does help.
It's a lot easier.
It's a lot easier. And,
Yeah.
and I do feel like you almost have to, because this is too hard of an existence to not have a deeper understanding of why good things bad things happen to good people, as they say, and why they're suffering. Why? Because there's endless amount of questions that we're never going to know the answers to. But if we accept that there are things bigger than us,
So if you're always saying, what is this trying to teach me? Every obstacle is a detour in the right direction, right?
Yep.
If you look at it that way. So what is this trying to teach me? What is this preparing me for? In every moment. If you see it as, I see it, you see it as something bigger than me, is divinely orchestrating it all. It's always for me, not to me. It's guiding me and maneuvering me and teaching me the skills I need in the bad things. And we talked about this last week. Find gratitude, especially in the bad things, because it's for you, not to you. And I just realized I never talked about the exercise that Joe Dispenza recommends. And that's perfect segue, because it's about gratitude. Joe Dispenza said, if 15 minutes a day, 3 times a day, for 4 days, you have a mindset of gratitude. So morning, lunch, and dinner, you spend some time focusing on gratitude, focusing on why you're grateful, focusing on whatever you can reach for. It doesn't have to be, because your life can be a mess, and find things to be grateful for. In fact, those are the moments you really should find it, right? So you just find some things. And if you can find only one thing, then over and over again, play that one thing in your mind and let your body fill up with that energy of love, because gratitude and love are like the same vibration. So you feel that in your body for 15 minutes, and you do it again at lunch, and you do it again at dinner, or 3 times a day when it's convenient, for 4 days. And what studies have shown is that our body produces the chemical immunoglobulin A. 50% increase after just 4 days. It's hard to say. Immunoglobulin A is like our body's natural flu shot. It is our most powerful healing and regenerative chemical. And you didn't do anything different. You're just living your life, but you are somehow extracting this chemical from within by staying in a state of gratitude. Our body is a starfish. What environments are you giving your body? And is it allowing you to get healthy and regenerate and grow? Or is it lowering your frequency and making you in a state of stress, which is leading to dis-ease? And if that's the case, what can you do to reclaim health and wellness? It begins with your thoughts. You may not be able to change the people. If you can't, then you protect your energy and you say the way they're treating me is about them and it's not about me. And you don't need their validation. And so you're tethered to your own worthiness. Or you let the people go that aren't meant for you. The ones that you know are taking you out, and it is a choice to have them in your life, then let them go, because the right people will find you. And the more you stay in that mindset of positivity, that your brain, that neuroplasticity, the groove in your brain that's about positive mindset starts to get thicker and deeper, and your body starts to want to do that. So if you can picture a road, if you're in the woods and you want to go with your car in an area that has never been driven on, it's going to be rough terrain, it's going to be difficult, right? Or you go to the left and there's this deeply, inset grooves where the cars all go, and clearly that's easier. It's hard sometimes to start something new, but if you do it for 21 days, you create a new neural pathway. And the more you do it, like going to the gym, the easier it gets. It becomes a muscle that's easier, right? And it helps you break away from the thoughts, behaviors, and beliefs that are holding you back.
And even doing a different activity, just to give a comparison to what you're saying practically, is if you brush your teeth with your left hand and you tried to switch with your right, how difficult that would be.
Yeah, at first you couldn't.
Where you have to keep stopping and reminding yourself. And that's just a concrete example to sort of understand what you're talking about. But it comes right down to the thoughts and everything. And I think that everything that we do has an energy flow to it.
Yes.
Our voices, my voice is coming out as sound waves, as energy. You can't see them, but it's going into your ears and you're processing it. And
my cells are being informed by the tone that you're giving me. Are you kind? Are you angry? I have input happening so fast.
So there is so many senses of which you're hearing and seeing, but then there's so much more that we don't truly even understand the true power of what we have with our bodies. And again, I love the quantum physics notion of frequency being, this will probably be a constant theme in our programming here, but the frequency, the energy, we're 98% empty space, in our bodies. There's electrons, neutrons, protons, and a cell is all empty space. So you can, theoretically, things can go right through you. Radio waves, electromagnetic waves. So there's so many things that we've accepted as it's just science, Bluetooth technology and all this. But yet we have a tough time understanding of how miraculous and how in tune thoughts can be, and how energy can be.
Why do we all accept that technology is changing every day and technology is moving so fast, but we're not doing the work that your body is electrical. It's an electrical miracle, and you are in control of it.
Yeah.
And it's woo-woo. People don't want to talk about it, but it's really happening, and it's.
And healing with frequency, I mean, there are studies. Granted, you probably aren't going to see supporting evidence of it in the medical journals because of the industry, of the profit margins.
I think we'll get there.
Hopefully.
You're right.
But I mean, that's such a powerful lobby that they want you to take pills. They want you to cancer treatments.
We have a monetized medical system.
So it's hard to talk to somebody who's in the midst of a battle with cancer. If it's their own, it's one thing. If it's for a loved one, it's even more sensitive because you feel less in control.
Yeah.
And you start to offer solutions like this that seem like it's. And Dr. Joe Dispenza was a good example. He broke his back in a bicycling accident and was told he was going to be paralyzed, and literally willed himself and his spine to heal.
I did the same.
Powerful.
Not spinal injury, but I was. But I was supposed to have back surgery, and I was like, I don't think so, and I healed it, and I didn't have it, and I don't have any back pain.
And how did you do that?
Yoga. Yoga and mindset. Yeah. Our body informs us. Our
Were you picturing yourself restoring?
I was.
Yeah.
So manifestation or healing, I think, again, your thoughts are things. What you think about, you bring about. If I saw myself as healed, that is what my body manifested in real time. Not in real time, I mean over time. It's just a consistent, I see myself healing. And I did. And I don't have any back pain, not any at all. Then there was a moment where I had some hip pain. I don't know where that came in, and then I was like, no, I see myself healing that. Our body is talking to us at all times. Our aches and pains, while it can be diagnosed as arthritis or whatever it might be, whatever diagnosis we get, work back into the root of it. It's really your body informing you. You missed the whisper. You probably overlooked the tap on the shoulder. Now you're being hit over the head. What work can you do? And so for me, I kind of did whatever it was in my life, whatever I kind of did the self-reflection and realized where I was holding stress, unresolved conversations, things that, resentment, whatever you do, our body speaks to us. And when you start to listen, you can start to heal that. Again, with frequency, though, there's so much about the food we eat. Like organic food has a higher frequency than, processed food. And that's important because we're trying to wake up in the morning at 10 and go to bed at 10. What are we doing along the way? But you talked about music. So music really, you can feel it. You can feel a happy song. You can feel a really good dance song. You feel it in your body. And studies have shown that Beethoven's Symphony No. 5 has a 20% effectiveness in healing cancer versus the cells that didn't hear any music. So they studied the cells, the cancer cells, 20% healing by just listening to the frequency of Beethoven's Symphony No. 5. We should cue that music. And it has this healing frequency. The other thing, you know, people don't know this, and I can't wait for the world to understand how easy this game is. Our clothing has a frequency. Linen is like the highest frequency. So that is why in the 1900s, many hospitals had, or all the hospitals had linen sheets. So a human, you and I, we're about 70 to 90. Like that's like kind of our frequency. Linen sheets are at 5,000. Amazing. So if you wear linen clothing, think about it. So you have, they're antifungal, they're antibacterial, they temperature regulate. So imagine sleeping in linen sheets, what that does for your body. How much higher it is than your own frequency. You are enveloped in something that's going to expedite your healing. It's going to temperature regulate you. My women out there that are having those hot flashes at night, I mean, get your linen sheets. And it's helping with antibacterial, antifungal. So these are things that we can do that elevate our frequency, that increase our health and wellness.
Baby Mozart was out a long time ago.
Yes, oh, I played it for my babies,
yeah. And you know, it seemed like another child gimmick or what have you, but like going back to the example of Beethoven, when he was profoundly deaf at the later stages of his life, he was still composing beautiful music because he was feeling the vibrations off of the piano and composing things strictly from vibration, not from even what he had heard.
Cry. It's actually amazing.
And I think that has held true so much so where even cathedrals that were built, I think we had a different, as a human race, without all the distractions of social media and all the things that waste our time worrying, like, again, going back to biblical stories, and you hear, like, why were there so many more prophets? Why were there so many more supernatural experiences? In the reading of it, you would say, like, boy, it seems like God showed up all the time here.
I think because we monetized fear.
Well, but people didn't have television screens and news media yelling at them, and they had different forms of that. I mean, humans have always been flawed and distracted and whatever. But we were more. We had to, even us as kids, how do we survive car rides? We had to look out the window, right? As different from a kid looking at their phone or iPad when they're driving. For parents, it's a miracle, that we could have something like that. But being in a world where there is so much distraction, back then there wasn't, and maybe people just had more of a deeper contemplative life experience. So again, back to the cathedrals, when those were built in these big Gothic echoey cathedrals, the patron saints of each one of those cathedrals, who would be St. Jude, the patron saint of miraculous experience, the churches and all of them were built in certain frequencies. So they when the organs would play, and the pipe organs, they were even more deeply involved, and you went to that as like it was a battery recharging station. Which is interesting because, if they had that kind of knowledge, and even with like the pyramids and all of the natural wonders that man-made wonders that we look at, all had frequency involved going back as early as we can, as recorded history.
So what seems like woo-woo is actually ancient science and wisdom that we didn't know because it wasn't presented to us. And I do think it was because they monetized fear. I mean, you better have this or you can't be happy. You got to have this product. And everything was look outside yourself. Look outside yourself. And that's what we did. And I think there's a return. People are seeking something deeper. People want, there's a lot of suffering. The world has been so divided. And I think we're just looking like, how do I feel better? And so it's always within your reach. It's everything you need is inside of you at this exact moment. If you can reach for a better thought, you've elevated your frequency. And
And I can promise you, if you're most of the things that you're going through are because of things external.
Oh yeah.
And if you can isolate those and back off, like even during COVID, the people who are the most fearful were the ones online, social media, watching all the news. You could have just been in your garden, in your backyard, and not known anything, and thinking this is just like incredible, you know. But it was that fear that was used, because it's either fear or love, know. And if we can understand that, that's frequencies.
It is.
And we can go a long way with it. And I think the frequency tone weaved throughout our whole series here is going to be important, because I think it comes right down to it. Like you can go on YouTube and listen to the Earth's frequency. There's a frequency of the Earth.
Yeah, we talked about that. What is your frequency? I mean, that's a question, like, because it can change. That's the great thing. We are not stuck on the frequency we're at. You can obviously change that. So, but are you at a frequency right now with negative thoughts and, irritability and anger inside your body and rejection wounds and da 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 da? And is that where you're at? Because you're attracting limitation. You're attracting chaos. But you can change it, and you can start to think positive and rewire that brain of yours and just reach for a better thought and try to say this is all working out and try to say obstacles are detours in the right direction. Everything's for me, not to me. And if you so believe in a place from gratitude that I am becoming, like this, I have a mantra that this had to be so that I could be. Whatever you're going through is part of your evolution, right? And if you change from that low frequency where it's all about limitations to a positive frequency, then you suddenly have a limitless potential.
Yeah, and you said something last time that I thought was great, was the radio. If you're listening to a song and it's not something you like, you change the channel. And so
you can change it
your frequency
all day long.
is change your frequency.
And, because
if
you're
you don't like it,
change it.
And I feel it's important to have something to look forward to. When you're in that survival mode where people get in that hopeless state, is that they can't see beyond the pain that they're in at that second. But if you had something, even like as a kid going through school, you're like, oh, vacation's coming up, I'm looking forward to that, or Christmas, or we're going to Disney World, and there was always something. I'm going to a Celtics game, or you had something to look forward to. St. Jude, the patron saint of miraculous experience. The churches and all of them were built in certain frequencies. So they when the organs would play, and the pipe organs, they were even more deeply involved. And you went to that as like it was a battery recharging station. Which is interesting because, if they had that kind of knowledge, and even with like the pyramids and all of the natural wonders that man-made wonders that we look at, all had frequency involved going back as early as we can, as recorded history.
So what seems like woo-woo is actually ancient science and wisdom that we didn't know because it wasn't presented to us. And I do think it was because they monetized fear. I mean, you better have this or you can't be happy. You got to have this product. And everything was look outside yourself. Look outside yourself. And that's what we did. And I think there's a return. People are seeking something deeper. People want, there's a lot of suffering. The world has been so divided. And I think we're just looking like, how do I feel better? And so it's always within your reach. It's everything you need is inside of you at this exact moment. If you can reach for a better thought, you've elevated your frequency. And
And I can promise you, if you're most of the things that you're going through are because of things external.
Oh yeah.
And if you can isolate those and back off, like even during COVID, the people who are the most fearful were the ones online, social media, watching all the news. You could have just been in your garden, in your backyard, and not known anything, and thinking this is just like incredible, you know. But it was that fear that was used, because it's either fear or love, you know. And if we can understand that, that's frequencies.
It is.
And we can go a long way with it. And I think the frequency tone weaved throughout our whole series here is going to be important, because I think it comes right down to it. Like you can go on YouTube and listen to the Earth's frequency. There's a frequency of the Earth.
Yeah, we talked about that. What is your frequency? I mean, that's a question, like, because it can change. That's the great thing. We are not stuck on the frequency we're at. You can obviously change that. So, but are you at a frequency right now with negative thoughts and, irritability and anger inside your body and rejection wounds and da 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 da? And is that where you're at? Because you're attracting limitation. You're attracting chaos. But you can change it, and you can start to think positive and rewire that brain of yours and just reach for a better thought and try to say this is all working out, and try to say obstacles are detours in the right direction. Everything's for me, not to me. And if you so believe in a place from gratitude that I am becoming, like this, I have a mantra that this had to be so that I could be. Whatever you're going through is part of your evolution, right? And if you change from that low frequency where it's all about limitations to a positive frequency, then you suddenly have a limitless potential.
Yeah, and you said something last time that I thought was great, was the radio, if you're listening to a song
Yeah.
and it's not something you like, you
Change
change the
it.
channel. And so
You can change it
your
all
frequency
day
is
long.
change your frequency. And,
Yeah, 'cause
if
you're
you don't
human.
like it, yeah.
Change it.
And I feel it's important to have something to look forward to. When you're in that survival mode where people get in that hopeless state, is that
Yeah.
they can't see beyond the pain that they're in at that second.
Mm-hmm.
But if you had something, even like as a kid going through school, you're like, oh, vacation's coming up, I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to that, or Christmas, or
Yeah.
we're going to Disney World, and there was always something. I'm going to a Celtics game,
Mm-hmm.
or you had something to look forward to. And it can be as, and for me, I know, and I showed you pictures of my grandkids, I'm like, I know if I'm down, I go there and I drive over.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
and I have to text my daughter, is it okay if I come by? And I play with them. It just, like,
I love it. They're
just
so
elevates.
cute. Your grandbabies are the cutest.
They are. They are.
Yeah, that's a great example. And people who are like, oh, I changed this. Well, what lights you up? And I work obviously with a lot of people, and a lot of people struggle with, I don't even know what I like.
Yeah.
Because you spend so much time doing the job and taking care of other people and whatever. And then that is all low frequency. Self-love is a very high frequency. So start there. Start with self-reflection and start with the simplest thing. You know, what's your favorite music?
You know what else works great? Cocaine. No, just kidding. Figured it would be a good way to sort of wrap the show up there right now. A little levity.
No, don't do that. Do not do that.
Yeah, so I mean, we'll have a lot of fun with this, and I think that certainly the conversations that we do will overlap.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do the cocaine after the show, if that's what you're implying. But this has been great, and we throw the invitation out there to you again. We're searching for the right name for this, and we've toyed around with it. And look, if your name is Aloysius or Stephen, it depends on what kind of person you are for us to like the name. So a show name, we had, what was it again? Your show that you had?
The Way Home.
The Way Home?
Mm-hmm. The Way Home.
The Way Home. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
And then we had what
Moment
else?
to Moment.
Moment to Moment. I like that too.
Yeah, Moment to Moment was another idea, and we also thought
these sound like Lionel Richie songs.
They kind of do. Maybe
Yeah,
we should just like
maybe-
check out some albums and rip off some
yacht rock.
Wait,
theme.
yes.
Yeah.
I feel like that could be our
Yacht rock
vibe.
psychology.
Yeah.
I suppose we could take
Why
an
do I
Air
love
Supply
this?
song
I
or
lo- wait,
Kenny
yes.
Loggins each week.
Kenny Loggins.
And we can
Yep.
pick the emotional theme to get into with that.
That could be the name of it. Yes, we could totally unpack a million things based on a song title.
So I'm Captain, and this is Tennille, and we are, what's their big song? Love will keep us together. Yep.
Yeah.
So
yep.
we've
all
got
right.
it. We've
This
got
is
it all figured out.
So we had a lot of ideas. You guys let us know what you think, but I think what is more important is we have something good here. I think we have something to say, but I think we're saying what people are thinking.
Yeah.
Because we're just human. And we're just trying to apply this in our lives, and we're seeing how it works, and we're seeing how it's making big changes. And anybody can do that.
And reach out to Sharmin for the life coaching services that she does, as well as things that you might want to hear about. I have to say, I'm completely uncertified, not equipped, other than being a human being,
I think
right?
that we're all equipped. See, we put people on pedestals, and we elevate them. I'm no more important than you are, and you have everything that's so important to say. And I think, representing, like, obviously this is my career choice to talk about spirituality and health and wellness. That's my career choice.
I guess it's mine too, because I'm sitting here with you.
Exactly, right? It's ours now. But the point is, it's like anyone living and experiencing life and has failed but learned should be sitting in this chair.
Yeah.
That's all of us. Or should be listening. Like, it's all of us. It doesn't, no one has to be an expert. We're all living our lives, and you can be an expert of your own life. Like, that's what I hope people are, right? Like, we're just having a conversation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
All right, we'll see you next time.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks.